resources of the Electricity Company of Ghana. You'd recall a few weeks or about a month or two ago, the current Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Samuel Jinapor, John Jinapor, I should say, gave indications that some containers were missing at the Tema port. Well, as of last night, a new updated information from the Office of the Energy Minister and the Electricity Company of Ghana indicate that all these containers plus more were found or have been found at different locations. So let me just bring you some specific details. So former Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, has been invited by National Security and had his caution statement taken as investigations continue into the discovery of some 2,637 unaccounted for containers consigned to ECG at the Tema port. Some ECG staff have also been asked to step aside to allow for an unfettered investigation into how the containers originally reported to be 1,300 remained unaccounted for and accumulated significant demurrage costs. The containers, according to a multi-agency investigative committee comprising the National Security, the Ministry of Transport, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and Customs, were found across various port terminals, including the Meridian Port Services and the Ghana Ports and Harbours Terminal. The probe was triggered by inconsistencies in ECG's procurement and port clearance process, where items were consigned directly to the company without arrangement for timely clearance. The Attorney General's office is also expected to provide legal guidance on the next steps to be taken. Let me take you through the information that we got as regards where the containers were found. So the Meridian Port Services alone had about 860 of containers that were assigned to ECG, or ECG's containers had arrived in the country, and 860 of those containers were at the Meridian Port Services terminal. Again, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority terminal had 1,237 of the containers. Then you look at the ones that had already been evacuated by National Security. Those that had been taken out of these ports by the National Security in themselves were about 272. At the Arrést terminal, 194 of the containers that were seen there were those that belonged to ECG, and then 20 were seen at Atlas Manufacturing Terminal. And all of these, if you put them together, the number we are getting per the ECG report is 2,637, as against the earlier report of 1,300 containers that we were told had been misplaced or, using the word of the minister, missing. But from all indications, earlier interviews we had with Samuel Dubik Mahama indicated he was of a strong opinion that the containers were not missing because they were not small devices like phones that could simply just disappear into thin air. He was of the opinion that they probably have just been placed at different ports. So if you go to a particular area and you do not find it, it does not mean that those containers are missing. So based on the back of that, a committee was put together, and then they searched various port terminals and came out with the numbers that we have now: 860 at Meridian Port Services, 1,237 at the Gapoha Terminal, 272 already evacuated by National Security, 194 at the Arrést Terminal, and 20 of them at Atlas Manufacturing Terminal. So it simply raises the concern or the issue: what was contained in the report that the Energy Minister received, for which reason he came to say the containers were missing? And he put together a committee to investigate. The committee came back to confirm the fact that the containers could not be found. But a second committee that was put together that comprised, like I indicated, the Ministry of Transport, Gapoha, Customs, and National Security, they also undertook further search and on the back of that, found over 2,600 of these containers at different port areas. So that is why the minority, for instance, is raising concern about why they believe the minister needs to come and answer a few more questions. So the spokesperson and head of communications for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Richmond Roxon, has also been speaking on this particular issue and provided some answers as to how these containers were retrieved. He spoke earlier to Beatrice Edu.
You will recall that the previous administration informed the current administration that ECG had 3,000 containers that were uncleared at the port. Of the assumption by this administration and the swearing in Minister for Energy and Green Transition, the minister had briefings. The briefing he had was contrary to information that had been given earlier. As a matter of concern, the minister caused an investigation into the matter. You will recall that the committee's report, the initial committee's report, was that he had identified over 1,100 containers, but 1,300 of these containers were not accounted for. They had gone there to do the physical inspection. They didn't find it. This triggered an interagency committee comprised of National Security, Ministry of Transport, the Ghana Port Authority, GRA, and Ministry of Energy. Fortunately, through the work that has been done, 2,637 containers have been traced, and currently there's 2,583 containers in possession of the National Security, which are currently at the port.
That's almost half of what was initially retrieved or identified, as it were. How does the ministry how do you take this new revelation coming through?
You know, this goes a long way to confirm the poor procurement practices and data keeping of the previous administration under the ECG. Because as of now, if you give data that you have 3,000 containers, and eventually there's the contrary information that you have 2,005, and then you cannot even produce data to back exactly what you have, then it's difficult. There are facts among the containers that have been retrieved. There are some that some containers that have been retrieved, but there were no data supporting these containers. And there were some containers that have not been retrieved, but data shows that they should be available. And that is why this investigative committee's work is very important and crucial, and that they will continue because the suspicion is that there will be more containers out there, and that once the investigations continue, be able to retrieve more.
Do we know how long they are supposed to continue with its work? Until when?
But as long as it will take, because it's been some time now. If the work of the committee can bring 2,600 at this point, there's absolutely nothing that should stop the committee. The objective is to recover every container that is out there, and number two, to deal with the procurement issues and punish any individual or institution that is involved in this. It's not that the matter has been left to go, no. The matter has been referred to the Attorney General for advice. The investigative bodies are still looking at it. The former managing director of ECG statement has been invited by National Security. His caution statement has been taken. Some staff of ECG have been asked to step aside pending investigation. So until the last container is retrieved, until people are punished for these acts, these investigations will continue.
And you heard the voice of Richmond Roxon, who is the spokesperson and head of communications for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. Right, now let's try and get some clarity on how all of this plays out in the domain of Ghana's power sector. Nana Amoisi the 7th is the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security. Nana, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thanks for having me, Martin, and good evening to your listeners.
Right. Do you have an understanding of the explanation that we have been given so far concerning how 1,000 and over containers were said to have been missing, and then those that have been retrieved are way past the number that we were told?
Well, I think that Richmond was trying to provide some clarity on the matter. The indication we take was that during the transition, it was reported that ECG has about 3,000 containers at the port. Then, when the minister took over, he equally got indication that they have at the port about 2,500 containers. And so the disparity between what was conveyed during the transit period and when he took office, it what caused him to proceed with an investigation. And during the investigation, as we pick from the ministry, about 1,100 plus containers were identified out of the 2,500 that the minister was looking for. And about 3,300 could not be accounted for. And that's what came out into the public domain. And so today, if we are getting close to 2,600 of containers being accounted for, then it goes close to what ECG declared to the minister, but a little above that. Apart from that, during the search, some containers were found with an Indian company and other places. It means that between the 2,500 declared by ECG and the 3,000 that was declared during transit period, is what we are finding as extra. And so we believe that there could be more in the system that has not been accounted for. And so the search continue.
Right. From all indications, this is quite a major turning point when it has to do with ECG's procurement strategy. The minister has asked that ECG halt all forms of procurement, in line with these types of things that come in container shipments. Is that a way to go, you believe?
Well, when you're doing something that tends to be wrong, the common sense approach is to stop and check again if the direction is confirmed right or wrong. Then you take a new direction. And so halting the procurement process is good, because we get indication that there are some type of cables that have been bought so much that it could last for even more than 10 years. And some of these cables have lifespan. And so you only want to procure when you need them, and not so much that burden the taxpayer, and may go to turn out to be useless at a point. And so we must take a break and look at the whole procurement process, redefine it, retune it, and ensure that due diligence is done through the process so we have value for money.
And finally, we also have been told that probably the interference of political class could be blamed for some of these discrepancies. So, for instance, they are asking maybe an independent state institution must undertake the overhauling, the investigation, and the entire process. Is that a position you share, or because there is a political class that plays a critical role in the day-to-day running of the critical power sector player like ECG, we really cannot do without the political players in this particular issue?
Well, if we choose to be disciplined, we can manage even the political interference. Are you interfering in the process to make it better, or you want to interfere to make it worse? That's what we need to direct our attention to. And we believe that that sort of interference has not boded well for ECG over the past decades. And earlier politicians ceased to meddle in the affair of ECG unnecessarily, the better for the power sector.
Nana Amosi, the 7th, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's a pleasure talking to you, and he is the Executive Director for Energy Securities, the Institute for Energy Securities, Nana Amosi, the 7th. So what do you also make of this new development, which hinges on the fact that the earlier number of containers that we were told had been missing looks as though the committee put together to investigate this has found way more than we thought we had been told earlier. So some are already praising the fact that yes, then it means that some underhand dealings had gone on, and so it is good that we have found more. And like you just said, Nana Mwesi, there is a possibility that there could even be more if the search is further intensified. We'll see what the coming days look like regarding this particular issue. And maybe if you also feel strongly about this story, tell us about it. What do you make of this current development?
Minister interview, yeah. Oh, the former what na fra Antonio nam. I said I'll make it. Me from Hey, how do you? What was that propaganda na ya? Asembe na okike kan say man sem kokozi sesei. What be that? Baby we are say kwani niam ekosi. Nana wala bo necessary. Na wo dey say odo ba na do aka dey opero dey akere no. And the time ni dey so. Na me ba wonim no oka bibia ba ECG. Kan sem ni nyina. Akronfo wo Ghana. Na me ko dwe yebo na no ma betra adenta ECG. Yes. Ma me no we friend car. Na dey ta car. Ano o ye dey. What so give forms na oba give you 50 forms. O say this on one we no be call rounds. Na ko check. Cheso more power. Men was and one of power. One your friend Benedict by car. Oh, what you are this? What Adenta district manager. Now, say come up. Yeah, no need a fee. I need a fee and fresh. Yen me no de me kokoto. Wo de me kokoto. Na he na koto hia visa say no ko. Why you forms to Ghana nyina kuta. Say woman go for power. Say even car wo home police car no. I fought to banny up a car no de akwakoye adwuma. Also release car no. Adenta ma me baby obi ancha kese ko man. Me ne wo kase wo kwatakwa. No, ECG boss the Minister of Energy. Onti and neka one 3 times America ma me na sem Adenta. Ana sila omo nya. E kwa wodi ni pe fast Adenta nya de keto. Because also obi wo so power wo nsanka. Do hwe bia wo do pen wo ye. Wo ye di ope. One wo ye manager or district manager. One no wo ati ECG ho e wo Adenta o di semu. Now we are a friend producer no friend way. Now be ko to ye ko dan so. Na ko to obi aka kire. Ana so officer won nsama for na ye adwuma. E ye nipa na no mo ye adwuma me electrical technician. Me so me apply for power ho. Me no ga be force be 10 gu ho. Wo e dia na say wo ye. Ma me no hwe yie. One you very very careful. Adenta ya no si no wo dis yin nyama. One you very very careful. E ho no ti yin nyama. Da bi o. Me say reset na ye ye no ko fo be a mo praso me yan reset. Me no ka say on be reset. So do takwa ECG a. Ono so manager no ote wo no. Wono a de na sika action bottom. So what takwa na so tua a single room kra won tua kra 2000 a month. I'm telling companies no, but some is won tua 30,000 40,000. Small company get no. Takwa wo on ma so gold mumu to gold dia. Also be to gold of mumu bottom. Takwa ECG manager, district manager. Also need say oh, I forget the name. Me pedi na mo. Ya papa ni go for to takwa no. Enya de kito ECG. Me see Ghana for NPP for na trans say ekwa be ne betima fa to betima sabotage NDC. Ye the ECG nkwa na be. Me ne wo kasa Madina da bia off. Is le go off ba bia ye dum no 2 hours 3 hours. Sa no mo de yes sa ni nyina ye nkrofo. Me see send ayi John Jinapo. Onya ayi no nam no ba bi onam no. Bola so ne hwe container wonya. Da ba bi onam. Me monya container na hwe. National security. Correct. Onya ne dia ne say district managers ne officers ne ade no. On change sankrofo ni nyina. Yes NDC do be ye enye. Na o ma sheda o. Fort bia ni baabia bibia ni baabia. Ye dum ni 30 minutes ni aso no 2 hours ye do sa. E bot 7 o'clock anyuma ye dum no. E be so no 11. Me free baabia meti. Sata no ada. Be 11. Omudum light. Me be e be 11 ye omudum. E no pay ya. Omudum me ba kwa no omo nso ye. Ba na no me hu se Mustafa Gbande e kasa wo kase. Omu ni challenge bia. E sabotage. E sabotage. Na sabotage woto na na ma wo na usu no ba anya na ataka FM na atimachi ye ne e dia ne ha ai kekedi say so you fi ho e ma kwa nkwache betra ha ne wo fa so ne say ha so manager enti mu amu aba na di dwumadie na hye mu nsa no e kwa ba na be fa so sa district manager wanwa mu se sa nkrofo wa nyina e ma ne ma nkoso ye na na manya de keto wo I am yet about Trauma the only ECG. I record there's no challenge. Any bia bibia dana kwami atrawo. Then crofo we to use ECG. No more 57 now. Ye consistent no. No more about 52. Because SNDC 20 good years ewa ba mu na Ghana fa de ntoma pafra na say just Akufo Addo on be say bibia minister Mr. Papa omo na ni nko adanta ni na yeso afra wo pem number edai wo ya niama na nya ne yesi change niama na wo ya na wo mina wo dikum wo de me kokko de court no papa dia na ma me dia ana wa na ka che obi so court no adi be wana what was it e bin ma ko fata kwa ni dia na me dia ba no what one wow charges na wo charge the whole takwa singing room prampo more than 4,000 wow meter no obi ni baby akoso meter fee and now one disconnect one amount a flat rate 5,000 10,000 na betua untua jai sa na otetakwa na oye
o de 2 million unim kwadwo asem we na wo ka no enye takwa nko a
me da me come and go for some you find district by district
my sister last year nyina no wa ha wo ya de nti wo akra okwa ya na ECG for brain bill 15,000 and o simi ni a me ba ya kwada bre 3 days ni me ba kra sa ko kikikiki no ma yi ni cables e de agufo
my goodness
and o ba akra o ba ya no oba be October mu unu so wa kan every month be on my bill 700 800 omo yi cables no afim di agufom but what he has say no every month no bill no e ba won phones 800 and ECG na si won mo
what decide we
edin na nkasa ECG kwa na wo so mo sesa no
e wura ni pampo
edin no ye cancerous ye poisonous
enti e betan no sa ma na ya bre o ye betan ma sa de wa be changes amaye
dabi
ye ntra wa ma we nye changes amaye o na me tiwo say ECG ba bia no ade to say me head me to be head me ye senior electrical technician adanta ma me de ba bia na bi ayay
takanu mu wa
ayay na adai ye ba tasa ma grofo afie no mum ama ya power me se power ne nyankwa ni me dan me sorry aye me ni petrol crampa is better sanka anu di be kopa de nkedi pan transo anu di no mo ye Ghana yi samre ku di no mo ye enne nipa na aba hwenne o mampani enne ese grofo ntwa bet mu ntwa na mu ni free city ba be she Leicester wotimase Benfica wini wotimase Crystal Palace na wini what chese matches na guo mu ntwa na mu ni no tax enka Akufo Addo chese ni tikoto enka neck water tax e trend session enko tax and no mampani onim nyansa wo mampani anyame bo no wo mampani objiri nipa ho wo se ne Kojo yebo ha bet mu ntwa no ni free mu wi am fa hwa mu ne mu abusuafo me nya ama adwuma kra no me bia we mu ato adwuma no so de me de ba etu nya bia onim ndc enkrofo ni bi nsu me ma obi ansu and obi fro no obi se Kojo na wo kya na me se me ka technical directors mu me de me ni bench ke me company for no me ka directors no na ma broom won't see am appointment president ko baby no go shia no number e ho na me wo yes e ho ta team na me wo uniform me wo sro let no crampo enough
mo form dey Kojo di
what ma say you okay mani abre and this ni bia anto position by 7,000 ya nyanche 2,000 aka be bro bia be di peche what ma say obi abedi di ni edi so be say win election anu pe na ye hwehwe
eh Kojo na wiye wo fa he
me fifie na be straight me wo ni giemu
because the way wiye wo kasa ne
oh nana
ya wo ka technical team na say dem ara
na hina ka wo de meto
level na
me ma example ni bi e ho na me wo next time president be share ro ko ba bi bo se me ko jani kwa na me de ne ba e na pese ohu me mo
Aruna akwa aba Aruna me ma akwa aba awie yi na bibi abokro de
Nyami di ache
ye de nyami ase
ye share ya chance
this year ye share
this year ye share de
chiwe
ni 1 month
chiwe ni Ramadan ni no ene happy Eid
match ko mama
yes
enye easy uche come 2 days ko anu afon
bro anya
ba won sayo
me say won
ba won zo ma country effect me ma che ma wo shia me ma na no mbo afu ma ne fa no ma mo se me ma mo didi papa me ma sho no bia abu afu ma ne de no ma me ma ne paduane nya me ntum kwa na mo ya ade mo bompa ya ba pressure on okay ma erna
okay ye di kwama fa ECG ni containers em said this Ramadan into woman into no eno aho na ne ye nam ho ana ayi letter no ya edit ne de suraba ho ana de fu wana ba
so mo se mo nchi o mo jiro mo yemu sa mo so di public tax eguma ko bia ye
easy on say Ghana ana o man bia ewo the way citizens of such economy and our country as a dream for the development issues. And we share Ghana as a country, no? The individuals are yet to me a show largely the duana are individualistic and they are parochial and they are selfish. Ghana is the only country that we have and we belong. It is Yamau to me say be share any sector of the economy. And funny say o ahondi ana onim nyansa chen obia tina yedi sa tumi ne ehye hosa nyansa bia de bia meka asami say anybody in this country e wo nyansa and anybody whatever you are doing people are watching people are observing but because say your cup is not yet full, Nunti. Who can say you are doing things in private? Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, Nina Kahwa, a lot of people at Waba, it's your NPP. Just because of the word resetting. Yeah. Because say Omua Omudi Ghana huyao. Because there are people who, for any reason, want to milk the country. No? There are people who are watching them. Now, sa ontimi ya hushibu ra mrebesu obekwa kotoaba. Na otoaba no wiesu a ekọ sana opea oho na omehu se na odin kosesem. Because they would make sure they expose all the rods. Look, nyase bia emfa near ekosui in this country. As a businessman, minim say whatever happens, I have to do things in the interest of Mother Ghana. Because I didn't just wake up from my house and go to ECG to become the director or to become the procurement officer or a minister. But I know, say, near Ekosui, at the end of the day, Nana Akufo Addo will go to jail. I know. Because the minority leader has said, say, Onukurano wantimian sisa krono. Simply because there were issues of authority from above. And me knew at the time, no, oya majority leader, no, whose authority can surpass or no authority. Oya mambanchina kufado. That's it. So we all know where these containers are. But Niami want to say we have people in this country who has that kind of evil tactics to manipulate the minds of the myopic. I don't get it. This particular corona yebo omain Ghana, people still believe say there are people within this government who are perpetrating this crime. Abra, the minister has given you every reasonable doubt to believe and say this crime existed since 2017. And unim niana miniu ekanwasem outside asana yebem. What were we discussing? We're discussing business and how we can help Oman Ghana. Because NPP has milked and sucked all the oil that they have destroyed the country. We all know. And all that they did was to the extent say second any hobby no yemfa ya no enkra ne ma no eba na yemfa back door to resell those things so that ebe kwa ebotum. And that is what they have done.
Yeah.
The handing over knows. The physicals are okohuye. Yes, and the reality dawned on us that 1,300 piece containers anymore. And mini was a wood importer. And you know the kind of security I want. And the way we be clear one container, how we be from and son we be clear one container, and these idiots, excuse my word, omo free MPP supporters obetimi echontro and Agyapong say one can take 1,300 pieces containers within 2 hours, and 3 hours, and 3 months at the port. So botama, I don't know the word I would use on you. And this thing, I have said this, that nobody can take one pin outside ports. Abra, the SERPs will not, or the GRA officials will not be involved. The ECG officials will not be involved, because even so ukra a phone, one single phone to go and clear it at Ghana Post Ukra, you need to provide documents.
Yeah.
Who gave them the documents? That's the question we should be asking. Now, Yahoo faked papers are in them. Say there were letters to that effect. Say they wanted to relocate 706 containers to National Security Warehouse.
Abelempi traffic lights.
Abelempi traffic. Does it make sense to me? At what point and when? Even so, let's grant that. Let's grant, say, those containers have been taken to sa location. Yenina himself sa location belongs to the states. The content of Yenjintum, the content in say we want to safeguard the state property. Therefore, we are taking it there. Yeah, we are. That's the question we're asking ourselves. It is in the custody of the states. So how on earth can you tell us say ayira? Logic. Because port no mabefa abanyafa, you have traced it to where it is not in the hands of individual, it is in the hands of the states, and then the states is now coming out to say logic can't take that. So what they are trying to do, and I know very soon Afenyo Markins will be invited. Very soon Afenyo Markins know the whereabouts of those containers, and that is why Odikai Eka say Yenchi those directors. We should invite the directors. Yeah, invited directors. So he gives us a contradictory statement. Say the president, the order from above, that tag and name will be unveiled by Afenyo. Because
say we read the true report now. Estetiwom the then managing director. Ubemu said then managing director.
Yes.
Mahamadu Dubik.
Yes.
What sense of crocodile joru mimos
chile.
Chile. And you know what Chile.
Kennedy Agyapong.
One so
Anna Afenyo na nkasa so yede.
Afenyo by July. Obemubi.
Yeah.
Procurement no. Said the energy minister any report na nkasa na. Kennedy Agyapong. Your friend is NAPO. Any Dubik. And a procurement director. No so state demand in the answer why because your friend is a pressure and frustration from what that from
your friend is a young Congo.
Or say no pressure is in say one talk. Or say omu here demand near money baby but and answer pressure and cut. But the M one say Kennedy Agyapong one no ha.
Dubik na poi wa Afenyo wa implicate
na Akufo Addo
Afenyo de me fa me go di ade no da wasansem no
wasai
wo ho no
udo abele grand
ye wia ye to nyoma
yes Me try say me be sure na no see.
Afenyo.
To clear those.
Afenyo didn't cook dia dia no won lose.
Who do I believe my friend 60-40?
60-40.
The guy named no on one.
What can say was said? Anno Virgin was Greater Accra Regional Minister do me hu you. Some year Musana and ye Musana. Now go one other catches on Gaza. Munyi Mike in free as a babaka, more someone we in your what was said and you were invited now.
Yes. So many about for me.
Say video animation no. Oma ko track me the video na me producer na me so I post you. Oma ko track kese e wo gomua awambiri o se dey. Hono Central Region ho baby. Ya no ECG track no ECG.
Cables we on. Ubusa.
We cross a few days in you.
Ubusa track on the
few days ni na mu guys no
sana omo discount
na me catch us na container ni emusa e buy say we mo ko container mu ye yi dey good trash na dey go container ye musa wo say yi sig dey na okra dey buy ye e bia me craft transformer 5,000 cables 10,000 I mean to say where ebe affected because that be out here that's a from eba asam no ade beba no ye be hwe no ade ene ye da toto na de ho wan hwe ye be affected eti ade be na yisi for crade ba here Dubik ni na manwumrei me sha no mimos ot wo wiki bab na ni age won timi fe peke no
ena o dey me say onyanwu say wa create lacuna bi e de ato ho enti sa enti ama MPP for na take advantage
thank you want take advantage from 3,000 neighbors why you na want take advantage and omo dey see enim dey ye enim dey ye ka what am say so do waka no so to ne bo so minister so nyanto bo ase ba na de ne do hu ye na wo hu ye de wo hu ne wo hu because 3,000 ka say more than 3,000 bo sata mo menye chompo no akoport wo go di frame house e pare achi obi excavators yes Akufo Addo ogina na chi okache so the president beto galamsey so na frame agina na chi na wo ye pepesa ma ne ma ne magumram na say tu galamsey no ogi Akufo Addo chief of staff
omutusa
wo ko jama mi we omo hand documents ama wo ko gina no so dia bibia ani ngwasa na beto minister want to papa container assembly and they no nyanto boase no to because at the end of the day we eniema yi se bi da bia ameka wo
omo wia ga na pa
omo ni awie o utimi de ade ko wo ko ta omo ba na oto ama obi na wa mete
musion ka PURC no mo nka so mbetu electricity bill mo a e ka omo ne be share one pant because you say electricity bills na omo tutum no they are not justified in any way and conforce da ko boka no mo dia ba say ye ni enchentua no mo age hu sika they should wo dia omo nya mistake
na mo dia na woka na ma omo so ko round here check you know illegal connection no omo nya mistake no mo mistake no mo rounds some ye ECG ni na ma chatare na ye call rounds na ka Ghana fo be bu omo pa so mo deserve say so mo bu omo because sika nkrofa fa no na Kojo ye bo da fie no ohyewi na se mba fata kata ne testa e de adwan ne ho ba ko se me de da no aba honum one pe no aba ho so boy ye me bu afa me nya bio ba sa o show dem na se me fata kata ne plan na me dwan ne ho se me de da me mo bi ma ho se illegal connection bi ona na ma sika ne nyina nkofo na afa wo na ma dia pa na light be na wo dem a dear pan betima chewu betima da even 200 a day mu
no
800 a month
8 million a month
who sorry out abontin sa na dia fa
800 Ghana a month
for electricity
ada wo mintua yese me form be
just ada wo de no pito na de
na 250 dem hu yan so omo tu di ko 800
omo afenyo mo nsem hunu ya
bi decide ya say me so every month me chia 250 ya kan mintua
that say no mo de akoto kebu e hu kan no mo de ma no mo de eka omo se da boka na ye ni etua ma omo se da wo 60 billion ye ka se wo energy sector no enye se bie omo boapayo e na shenkofo botom no mo wie omo ba ka kire so mo ye smart edura na do a no mo ye party sakesi okromwa na Ghana ni ne bre na PURC abete no ho ye to electricity no mama a beautiful nonsense exchange rate cost afi we omo do munyim
na ECG koton omo boka Ghana
Then I would your mouth, cotton never cross the
Waboka. There's a chroma ton of Tombia Boca.
Coco Bonyan was a Samson. Ya Coco, Nayato Coco, Obi, what's the cotton Boca?
Medicate your electricity car as an omodi gumi card. So, Eden Boca, what do you think in advance? Tell it to Aboka. Chrono,
too much.
Ya didn't go focus on your manisika.
Mrs. Sandys, your ma, and can cool ever crow muno, and can civilian for a year, the neck for 2 years, for civilian. So your photo and catch away, there's a not do big that's one in Amhona, watch Chile. Mimos and if you and you will overcome Chile.
I shock several.
Oh, shock say that Kennedy Agyapong and in Amho. Now, watch out, dear, so would you want to be my answer questions, Anna?
Now, and this is 2 way. And then as I saw to Ocheska, and now 100,000, able by being 50,000 baby, you mean, sir. No,
no, cried your word, you send me in a near. No, motion, I said, ye, dear, grow. It was a more or man, concert party. Nana, send this official 20 years later, and this official somewhere, Sanyama, where we never go prison. Mrs. Akufo Addo for pan a buy number 2 or Mampani John Damani Mama and then a pound phone and Casania we are Coswa. Nanamno and so my what am I say? But when we saw more promo some to do, that's all no me a fine to do. I said, what I don't want to and go for more. Okay. Chazamukwani Pakitu a woman at you. A young investigation, we all sector Bia and Chinipa Odi anymore. Yachid was a form. Now, no national security coordinator Bako, Penubako Frame, Kojo, security we no, yes, you should form Sanya Bedustro. All right. And I'm saying, what to be done? Me and me a board chairman, me daddy, I know. Wuba Umusamio, board members are is a Sabio committee, but people on Casa and put that. One on the Kakofano. Share Emrai, a national service secretary, dearby. Show us no bar. What I said, I'm watching. What's no bana mukofano na bi na fukase Mustafa muni na te parliament one to one asibe mu to ho what's my coffee Osunoba
de asibe so mo invite no
Osunoba go shebe asibe de so bianye
so Osunoba asibe later ono mi so ko Thursday Saturday no so
munya sana
Osunoba ko di be 4 days
ko shemu no mu ko jesi garba
sen shemu no de hu yi
sikanu boys no wo ska o any men no
nanama Mrs. Nana what's this legon? Your man light of one. No, no, about the Ora Papa.
Escafon go light is
your man light of one. Uncle Fear and the Govo. Or would Jenny will be our plan.
All this caraco to energy.
Or would you money?
And the other soon.
And your decision.
My energy is carrying on.
And your good
and your gusum.
And to know effort to say
a sumwa. Na omono escafono otchere
wo afota wo fra ECG na mfa ne ho ebeba ma mfa ne ho wo na o che wo de wo wa ye yie
na ye sika
ye tinkrofo we ho
na ma ye ja wo no se ya aye be ko gi sika ya moteto na mo so mo
na no se na me ba na me ka ai hagya fa ate garage so ka se
ba ayo no ho de
e Roman Ridge one se na me ka boy ba ko so DMP proposal as me ka me boy de ye tu abani wie no cars ane ho nyom che cars ni nyina dwane me ne wo ka sei o mo sa de cars na sa be go because mo say mutanye wu
I'm so condemn esinu
etu pe ko jo ebu na me sa ko che cars
that be
information you ko go for nya ho adwuma
that better ko jo nkwan
kwa ma kwa sa de me
mre so lo
asem na ye ka kire no
na mo ye ni abre enkofo na wi yo wa muni ya wie papa same ne wo kasa wudu madina a station lorry station wana no mete so enkofo ne ba ha akwa ma bi ya fa ne sian
ai
the office organ Ghana high sense is the go ya hona top wo wonu says madina station no NPP buy no ono fa station no say ne dia e ho so say VR for land madina lorry station VR for land was so mo aton ma na ne dia if it is that time no when you say car be obepia bontin bia oju 35 Ghana cedis wo kwa 35 wo ba bia ma 35 ai na say wo bi wo kra na wo ntia say papa we no station mu no wa bo container be 5,000 container ba ko bia every month every year 7,000 nkete no draw ni sa se o se e ho ye ne dia NPP Ghana in the VR property to me see how edia na na me say we dey the story be to we dey ni head can me go
okay
now do station wo pa na wo hwe ni pasu esu wo ton yogurt pa na wura mo dey 25 Ghana cedis
so yogurt
wo ton pure water 25 Ghana cedis chese nipa wo wura station mu bia dey asia wo jusika madina law station one almost we are near man NPP for the 1 and omni papa no mo bu Ghana for a house ya VR for land sata ma no mo top on and ye
there be assembly bay and a dear man or man that authorization or the yes
sata ma no de denite so no NPP ababa wante so woni ni wo mu nyina no mo ka bo mu no mu nyina edidi eti station penifoni ya wiase ne nyina nkosi hwe eti nan dis abai me say wo de akira e be che topic na se na matase ma cheche wo mu na wa hu sia na ono siga na ne dia no e de wa nya kra ho no kra na no nya be 20-30,000 a day
ma haruna mrem haruna
adai
haruna
na mo to Ghana man grofo bi say
oh kwadwo ma haruna mrem
my goodness
ma haruna mrem
say near menua ekasai ekai no say no correct because say utimi wia over 1,000 containers akoton ehye obotum na me no you see lights be 3 4 5 days minyantua car na wabetwa nyasa be no nti Ghana ye nyina dia enye nipa ba akodia
gabby.
So whatever is good for Kofi is good for Kwame. Sure, sa adia your friend no protocol and government privileges ya di mo to the extent say people goes beyond the offices and then extending it to omu fie where they can abuse power, and then the ordinary Ghanaian will suffer to pay light bill.
You are suffering, Papa.
Abra near the taxpayer money omuji etu omukano are still enjoying, whereas ye bread at the grassroots level no is something we should talk against. Okay? I have a serious observation or reservation about near Ekosui, and to a large extent, I say Abai NDC is not ready to tackle this issue head on. By this time, what do I say?
To China for
there be. I'm talking of government officials. Chinese for who sold it to them? Just in 2007, you got obsolete cables at a friend say ECG workshop near a water cycle, and when him say cables, cables are won't mean yanokwa. Won't mean anywhere apart from ECG. Na sa aluminium and copper cables no. Those are yeko CCA dada ena dada na omudia ba to auction. So unya sa auction sales no kura no before you are able to cut them out. Baby ayedi ube fa no.
Processing easy.
Processing easy. But the same issues with me cutting. You need a police escort to be able to take them to where you want to take them. So if an ordinary person like me get to buy a cable with my own money, taking them to my factory, and you accost me or you get me somewhere arresting me or arrested me, me was our documents to prove say makoto. And to the extent that you want to investigate, you took those things to Ashama. More than 1 week to investigate this matter. I don't see why these particular items can leave the shores of Tema Port without any traces.
And then container. What
you say? Gas. So it is so alarming that your port system we all know how you cannot just pick anything outside the port without any so if we know where Niemanu and we know when and who sold them are, why don't we ask them?
Another issue, no.
Why? Okay.
Because of
we don't understand.
Family and friends, chop, scratch my back, scratch your back.
So Nanama, the issue is not about containers, no. The issue is not about the Chinese for I am sitting here to say Mikotosa obsolete cables now. Police for me. And I was able to prove near Ottoman.
Yes.
And they went there and investigated. Now genuine.
Yes.
I don't see why those Chinese people cannot, or the government, the minister is not able to tell us as soon as in a Toma Chinese.
They should tell us.
2 months, 3 months, way a years.
Container beer.
Deliberate attempts to siphon money. And that is what we are talking about. Ghana Sikana Kano. What do you say? So for me, out and tell us, say, as soon as in the tour, na tong container see, Emma Chinese for an hour, so that we all get to know the right source.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.